This happened when I was 14. I lived near a very big and scary forest. The town I lived in was very small, and the forest would always be empty, as many people said it was haunted. One weekend, I decided to explore the forest with my friends, Daniel and Maggie. We were all the same age and went to the same class. We didn't want to explore the forest at night, since we figured it'd be too scary. So we set off at around noon. Soon as we got deep into the forest, I started feeling strange. I felt like someone was watching us. I kept turning around and checking everything surrounding us, but I never saw anyone. After a few minutes, Daniel came up with a horrible idea. He told us to split up so we could search the forest faster. For some stupid reason, Maggie and I agreed. Daniel took the left path, while Maggie went through the right. There wasn't really another path, so I just decided to go through the bunch of trees that were straight ahead. Few minutes passed and I started getting scared now. My friends were nowhere to be seen. I was completely isolated in the middle of an empty forest. It all got much worse when I started hearing someone or something stepping on the twigs behind me. At first, I thought it was Daniel, but when I turned around, I saw no one. Now I started panicking. I knew someone or something had to be out here with me. I continued walking slowly across the forest. If it wasn't for the daylight, I would have probably gotten lost. When I finally got onto what looked like another path, I started hearing something stepping of the sticks and twigs behind me again. My heart started beating much faster now. I turned around to see what was behind me. I almost fainted. I saw a man with a hoodie, looking down at his shoes. He was approximately 100 feet away from me. He was very tall and looked strong too. He was standing completely still, like a statue. This definitely wasn't Daniel. For some dumb reason, I decided to ask who he was and if he needed any help. When the man didn't respond, I knew this wasn't going to end well. The adrenaline boost filled me up and I decided to run as fast as I could, hoping he wouldn't follow me. Of course, the man started chasing me too. I could hear his heavy breathing as he ran towards me. I couldn't think of anything else than life or death while I ran at maximum velocity away from that man. By some miracle, I heard the man trip over. I quickly turned around while still running away. I could see he fell and was in serious pain. I didn't want to risk it though. This weirdo had been chasing me, so he for sure didn't mean any good. I continued running away from him until I got to one of the touristic paths. I paused for a second to catch my breath. My heart was still beating 100 times faster than the usual. By then, I was very far away from where the man fell. I decided to just follow the path and hope it would lead me out of there. Luckily it did. I didn't know if Maggie and Daniel were still in the forest, so I went home and told my parents. They told me to call the police, as the man may have hurt my friends. We called them. After maybe an hour, the police informed us that Daniel and Maggie were indeed safe, as they both returned to their houses. Apparently, both of them got extremely creeped out and decided to go back instead of searching the forest. The police never found the man, but they saw a stain of blood in one of the paths. This is the scariest thing that has ever happened to me. I was 16 at the time. My best friend and her boyfriend wanted to visit the forest's lake at night. They decided to bring me along. The forest was like an hour away on car, so we decided to go on Friday night. We took some beers and a guitar to have fun. We weren't planning on sleeping there, just wanted to hang out for some hours. My best friend's boyfriend, let's call him Jonathan, said it was really relaxing in the late hours. Friday came by pretty quickly. We got in the car at around 6 o'clock and arrived there just after 7. Since it was winter, it was very dark already. We decided to park at the entry of the forest, where we saw another car parked. We got our flashlights and walked through the path that lead to the lake. It was a sinister path. I swear I could hear branches and leaves crunching behind us, as if someone was following us. I didn't want to look like a paranoid, so I dismissed it. We got to the lake after a couple of minutes. We had some beers, told some jokes and stories, and overall had a great time. My best friend and Jonathan were pretty drunk. After some hours, we decided to head back. This is when everything took a turn for the worst. It was 1 a.m. We were heading towards the path when I started hearing branches and leaves crunching behind us again. I told Jonathan and my best friend. My best friend was so drunk she could barely form words anymore. Jonathan was slightly more sober. He laughed at first like if I was joking, but when he noticed my worried look, he stopped laughing. He decided to flash the flashlight to the trees behind us, and that's when we all froze. There was a man. Around 6 foot tall. He was standing completely still. Since he was pretty far away, I couldn't tell apart his face features, but he was definitely wearing a coat. We didn't know what to do, so Jonathan decided to ask if he was alright. The man started approaching us slowly, not saying anything. This is when even my drunk best friend started getting scared. When the man was only a couple of feet away from us, we saw him pull out something from his back pocket. The three of us instantly realized what we were looking at. It was a knife. A fucking knife. Within seconds, we ran as fast as we could to the path. I could hear the leaves behind us crunch again as he started running towards us too. We were all running at maximum speed. Before we could get to the path, I accidentally slipped and fell on the ground. This is the worst thing that could happen to me right now. I thought I was gonna die. Jonathan and my best friend tried to help me get up. But as the man quickly ran towards us, they whispered for me to hide while they went to the car and called the police. I followed their advice, and slowly hid behind a tree while I heard the man go past me into the path. He continued following Jonathan and my best friend for some time. I was so relieved. I thought he was out of sight. I was so wrong. After a few minutes, I thought the man was far away enough, so I pulled myself together and got up to run to the car. That's when I heard it again. The fucking crunching leaves. This man was still near me. I couldn't hold my tears anymore at this point. I was fucking shaking. The sound of him stepping on the leaves got louder each second. I really thought I was gonna die. I put my hands over my mouth, so I didn't make any noise with my heavy breathing. Suddenly, the sounds stopped. The footsteps stopped. The silence was so awkward. I knew the man was near. I was just paralyzed for a few seconds, praying to God he would go away. Then, I felt something behind me. I felt a presence behind me. I didn't want to turn around, but somehow, I managed to pull myself together and turned around. I saw the man with the knife, standing right there. He was looking down at me. It was so dark I could barely make out his face features. This was the most horrifying thing that had ever happened to me. I screamed like a child as I ran away from him. The adrenaline boost helped me get away from him very quickly. When I got to the path, I grabbed the nearest rock and threw it to him. I hit him in the knee. It must have worked because I heard him grunt and scratch his knee. I took the opportunity and ran like I never ran before. I quickly got to the car park where I saw Jonathan and my best friend already inside the car. Before I even got to the car park, they opened the back door and screamed for me to get in. I didn't even look behind one last time. I got straight into the car as Jonathan drove away. I was still fucking shaking in horror from what just happened. I could have died if I stayed there for a few more seconds. Jonathan decided to drive me home first. When I got home, I told my mom everything that had happened. I was crying uncontrollably. We called the police and told them everything. They searched the entire forest, but unfortunately, they never found the man. All they found was an empty backpack near the lake, which I assume was from the man. I have come up with so many possible theories about that backpack. Maybe he wanted to kill us and put our heads in there. This experience has truly changed me. I don't hang out with Jonathan and my best friend as often anymore. And I haven't been to a forest at night since. I'm a 28-year-old man, and this happened fairly recently. I live in a small town in the rural part of Ohio. There is a gigantic forest very near my house. My girlfriend was feeling sick one day. She had a cold and could barely stand straight. I decided to take a day off work, so I could look after my girlfriend, while having a small break too, of course. I'll skip all the boring part. At around 3 o'clock I decided to head to the forest and chill near the river. My girlfriend was at home watching some movies and I was extremely bored, so I figured why not. The forest is only like a 15-minute walk away from home, so it didn't take long to get there. This is where the creepy part starts. As soon as I got into the path that led to the river, I started hearing the leaves crunch near me as if someone was walking on them. It was early and the sun was still out, so I didn't think much of it. Probably some guy trying to chill too, I thought. As time passed, I started feeling rather nervous. I still couldn't locate the river, and I felt weird. I don't know how to describe it, but I felt like someone was watching me. I tried to dismiss it, as I thought all the stress from my job was getting into me. I continued walking for some time, trying to find the river. That's when I heard a branch, or something fall to the ground right behind me. I quickly turned around. There was a man standing behind one of the trees further away from me. I could only see his head peering out. He had a bright red cap and looked sort of lifeless. I really can't describe it with words. It looked like he wasn't even alive. Truly disturbing. I asked if he needed anything, because it's not the first time I've had to help out somebody who got lost in this forest. He didn't respond. He just stood there, completely still, staring at me. It was getting very awkward, so I walked away and pretended none of that ever happened. I continued walking for what felt like hours. Eventually, I found the river. It was starting to get dark now, but I wanted to chill and relax near the river for some time. Before I could even sit down on one of the rocks, I heard another branch fall on the leaves right behind me. Now I actually jumped. It really scared the crap out of me. I turned around. There wasn't anyone this time. No one was peering out from behind the tree. Now I knew someone was definitely fucking with me. I shouted out something along the lines of, "What the fuck do you want?" But when I didn't get an answer, I started getting anxious. That's when I noticed something in the leaves. There was a red cap just behind one of the trees nearby. I swear, it was definitely the same cap from the guy I saw earlier. I didn't know what to do. For some stupid reason, I decided to walk towards the red cap. Now I know what a huge mistake that was. What I saw next will leave a scar on me forever. As soon as I got to where the red cap was, I saw a mannequin head next to it, laying on the ground. One of the ones you would find in a clothing store. That's when I put two and two together and figured out what was happening. I ran as fast as I could from there, not bothering to look behind once. I ran like Usain Bolt and got out of the forest within minutes. I stopped for a second to catch my breath before running back home at max speed. I told my girlfriend everything and called the police. The police searched the entire forest but didn't find anything. No cap, no mannequin head, no nothing. We moved out of there a week later, and I haven't been to that forest since, nor am I planning to. It gives me nightmares whenever I think about who was holding that mannequin head.